What's up, everybody? So today I just wanted to share a little bit about short sales in regards to what happens on the buy side of the transaction when we deal with short sales. I couldn't get seller side and buyer side done in 10 minutes. So I just wanted to share tips for realtors out there, buyers, if you're watching and have seen the word short sale on listings, you'll learn some stuff as well. So I want to start with just understanding what a short sale means for anybody who doesn't understand it. I've got some new realtors in my company here, and they were asking for some help. So in general, what a short sale means is the balance on the property exceeds what the bank or the seller can afford to pay. So I'm going to use even numbers on a $200,000 property, or the home is selling for $200,000. If the seller, after fees, can't pay off his mortgage, he has to go to the bank and apply for a short sale. So it's common to say, all right, well, the seller owes $250,000, but the value is only $200,000. What do I do? In that case, we would help a seller and say you would do a short sale, go to your bank and do an application. Simple process. The process for the seller, okay, first of all, a couple things that I want to cover. The seller does not have to be in default. They do not have to be missing mortgage payments. They can apply for a short sale simply because the market value changed. Things could happen to the home, could have flooded, anything like that, which reduce the value below their payoff, so they can't afford to sell it. So what a seller has to do is go to their bank with an application similar to when they actually got a mortgage, and they're going to go to the bank and say, I can't afford the home and I can't afford X amount of dollars to sell it. Basically, if we ran the numbers, it'll show seller owes 5, 10, 15, up to $100,000 at closing. So they're saying, I need relief. Mr. Bank, will you let me out of that? So a couple tips on the buy side. First of all, you're seeing short sales advertised on different websites, and people ask me all the time, who set the price? The price is set by the realtor typically. It's uncommon to have bank set short sales. There are some out there, but typically we as realtors look at the market value and we say, okay, this is worth about this. Let's try to sell it for that price. And if things change, you reduce price if it doesn't sell, and then eventually it sells, and then the seller goes to the bank and applies for the short sale. So during that time, there's a time frame basically. Once you're under contract, with the buyer is buying the house from the seller, okay, the bank is just giving the seller approval to sell. So basically, during the application process for the seller happens after a contract is signed. So once the seller takes their contract to the bank and says, here's my tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements showing I can't afford this home anymore, and a hardship letter and some other stuff, that's where the bank reviews their paperwork, qualifies them to participate in a short sale, and then sends a representative out to evaluate the property. Okay, so somebody on behalf of the bank will go through the home and report to the bank and say, here's our estimated value. Okay, so the estimated value for the bank will then translate in negotiations potentially. So the bank will say, let's use 200 even, sales price 200, seller owes whatever, 250, and the value comes in at 215. The bank will turn around to that buyer and say, hey, we're being told this is worth 215,000. We'd like you to pay that, or we're going to remarket the home, and there would begin a negotiation there. There's different types of short sales. I'll explain that in a little bit. But in general, basically, the timing that happens when you begin this process, once you sign that contract, and the seller's job is then to apply to their bank for the short sale, that process usually takes between 4 and 8 weeks for the bank to get a response, assuming all paperwork is filed properly. There are times where there's unmotivated sellers because, for whatever reason, they could be losing their home in a move, in a transition. The bank is asking them for documents that they can't find, or they haven't been working, and they have to write letters and stuff like that. And in those cases, it can take a little bit longer because the sellers, have to get paperwork back and forth to the bank. that's where the common, I guess, issue that people think is short sales take forever, but that's not always the case either. So, so that's knowledge about short sales. I want to show you a couple things because I got a couple tips here. Things that don't matter are the sales price. The bank can negotiate sales price. So in this market, you could tie yourself up for, weeks to a couple months to let the bank turn around and say, well, we want more than you're asking, because we were told it's worth more. Okay. And then loan balance. A lot of realtors always call me and ask me, hey, what's the loan balance? And I always reply and say, why does that matter? The bank is going to do their evaluation to see if the home is worth what you're paying for it or more. If they feel it's worth more, they're going to counter your offer. But it doesn't matter. I've had sellers who owed 150,000 more than the sales price, and I've had banks negotiate when they only owed 15,000 more. So it doesn't matter the loan balance or the sales price in the initial start, right? A couple things that do matter: the loan type. Okay, I got about 3.5 minutes left, so I want to get through this. Loan type. There's a couple types of loan, and then if they're current or if the seller is in default, those matter as well. And then the short sale types are FHA, VA, and conventional. Okay, that's 3 types of loans, the main types of loans that get sold to the consumers who end up, well, that's all loans. And then if you end up short, there's a different process to each one. Okay, FHA does a full-blown appraisal, so you have to sell it for the FHA appraised value. VA does has a similar process to FHA. Conventional sends out a representative like us, realtors, local realtors, to evaluate the deal or the transaction, the home, and reply to the offers. And I'm going to show you, realtors, what happens or what to look for in your MLS. I'm using Bright MLS. So this is a tax record. And over here, you can see the loan on this property is FHA. Okay, I'm going to go to the second property. Now on this property, it's conventional. All right, so this is where I would come, so I would know how the bank is going to evaluate the home, and I would coach my buyer in the best knowledge that I can find for the way to move forward with an offer, and explain to them that this is conventional. Conventionals are typically a little bit easier to work with. So misconceptions. All right. So misconceptions. Short sales take forever. They do not take forever. I've had short sales get approved in a couple of weeks, but I also have had some last months and 6 months. And there's times when we actually have to give a listing back to the homeowners because typically on FHA, if you don't sell it for the appraised amount, if a bank comes back and tells me we need, again, let's use 200,000, we have an offer for 200. If a bank turns around and tells me we're being told 250 on an appraisal, they don't really adjust that too often. So in that case, unfortunately, we list the home available again for 250. Never get an offer. We give the home back to the owner for what's called a deed in lieu. All right. So that unfortunately would be a waste of time for the buyer to be involved in that. Short sales, most short sales are sold as is, but there are deals where they're just normal people that have a balance that's upside down, and they're willing to help sell the home and it's in good condition. There's also misconceptions that everyone is in poor condition and in foreclosure. That's not always true. Again, these are homeowners that are just underwater. So short sales can be very good investments because somebody is leaving a house. The deal takes a little bit longer, and we help our clients buy them because they're good deals a lot of times. So that's short sales in a nutshell. My one tip is, if you are on the buyer side and you're talking to the listing agent, just confirm that they're using a law firm or a company that will help them process the transaction, especially if they're inexperienced in doing that. So that's it. I'm just at about 10 minutes. So I hope that helps you guys with buying a short sale. All right. Have a great day. You can catch this replay on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. Take care.